I'm the General Manager at TriCare. They're an aged care provider. I'll just give you a bit of a background about them and what we are doing in the whole area of workforce development. We don't claim to be the absolute leaders in workforce development, but we've done some good things. Some of the things which appear as challenges within the e-scan, and some of the things that we've heard from our other speakers today about how to address some of those challenges. So if you could just bear with me, I'll talk to you about that. TriCare is a company of about 1,500 employees. We have 1,300 aged care beds, 1,000 retirement living beds. It's a privately owned company. It's about 40 years in operation. We have the challenges, as I know a number of you here are in the aged care industry. We have the challenges that everyone else has. I don't want to talk about those. We have the funding challenges, the challenges with wages that we pay for our staff. Over the last 2 to 3 years, done a few things to try and meet those challenges. One of which is our workplace agreement. Our workplace agreement is has a competency-based model at its core. So staff progress, they learn new skills based upon the completion of designated competencies within the agreement. Many of those are national competencies. Some of those are specific TriCare competencies which we've developed with the assistance of experts in the field. That works for us particularly well in terms of enabling a workforce to focus on the skills that are necessary for what we need in our business. So that's been a particularly good thing, and if the Q&U would cut us a bit of slack, we'd agree to on a second agreement, but it's not around the competencies, it's more around wages, and again that's it's been a common theme with all of you. We're all constrained by funding. TriCare has developed, and this is probably a topic that we could talk about for a day or 2 days or 3 days. We've developed some performance measures and criteria for RTOs, for registered training organisations. We partner with RTOs who deliver according to those performance measures under those agreements. And any difficulties around that we manage in accordance with those agreements that we have with those RTOs. We find that's a particularly effective way to manage that area. In terms of the use of roles, no surprise to all of us in community care, in aged care, in health, worldwide shortage of nurses. We know all about that. We've developed a structure in our workforce whereby we rely quite heavily upon endorsed enrolled nurses within their scope of practice to support the registered nurses in the work that they do, because we recognise that with the scarcity of registered nurses, we've got to free them up to do the things that they need to do around documentation and the things that are important, rather than have them doing a lot of the hands-on tasks which we can utilise other carers, endorsed enrolled nurses, which is the same as the Victorian Div 2 nurses, enrolled nurses. And we have also focused fairly heavily upon our lifestyle teams at TriCare. So we have a fairly substantial lifestyle team where we've got staff who've undertaken certificate 4s in the lifestyle area. It was mentioned before, but we've seen a number of good outcomes because of these initiatives that we've driven. Access of supervisors and managers to training that meets the needs of the business has been pretty important for us, and I think Michael was pretty inspirational before in a lot of the things that he was talking about. And when we talk about leadership in aged care, we look at things around problem solving, general skills, time management, empathy with residents. We need to develop managers, supervisors who have leadership qualities in those areas. what have we done in terms of enabling staff to access grants? There's a lot of money out there in respect to grants. I think Barbara said it before, which it was pretty relevant. We've got to link that to our employment outcomes. So we've worked pretty hard on accessing traineeships, accessing money from the Department of Health and Ageing and from DEWA also, that targets our skills, or the skills that we need in a number of areas at TriCare. HR systems and processes. Rory said we can't, in terms of workforce development, it is relevant to talk about HR systems and processes. And they're your formal systems around policies and procedures and performance management, performance assessment. We've got to trust our staff. We've got to enable our staff. We've got to treat them fairly. We've got to make the workplace a happy place for them to work as much as we can. So, you know, staff barbecues, staff functions. We've spent quite a bit of resources in terms of those types of things. Information technology generally. In addition to e-learning, we have systems whereby we've loaded all our training packages onto our intranet. We enable staff to have access through common computers at the facilities for them to spend time during work hours on e-learning and those sorts of programs. So in many respects, we've captured a lot of the things that have been addressed through the e-scan that we've spoken quite a lot about today,